coming in and seeing every one of those patients, one after another, is just too much. They're moms and dads and children and grandparents and, in some cases, coworkers. I think when you recognize that it's the same spot over and over and over, you have to do something, and I think that was the point really where I was at that day. It didn't matter how big the hurdle was, it was something that we needed to get over together. I'm Stacy Holmes, I'm the Trauma Program Manager. My role is to work with the entire team, from EMS to our emergency department physicians, nursing, our surgeons, and then even the hospitals that we transfer patients to. We are a remote facility that cares for people in an approximate 10,000 square mile radius. We have a really large geographical area that we take care of. One of the areas that we talk a lot about is Highway 97, and we call it the 230s.
The 230s between milepost 228 and 242, I believe, is the deadliest 15 miles in the state of Oregon.
In that stretch of highway, we've just really recognized over the years that there are a lot of crashes, significant crashes that have led to a lot of critical injuries and unfortunately a lot of fatalities. When we're in that area of road and when we work with our first responders, there's a few concerns that come up that really lead us to believe that that stretch of road is unsafe.
The 230s are long, straight, non-curvy areas, and people get impatient.
The shoulders are really narrow. There's not any rumble strips on the sides. It's a 2-lane highway, meaning 1 lane in each direction.
The speed limit was increased from 55 to 65. So now we have more traffic. Not to mention when you throw in a little inclement weather in there, it can be very, very dangerous.
Throughout my entire career, I have always recognized the 230s as an unsafe stretch of highway, but that didn't really impact me until a conversation that I had with Chief Cook.
She called me, we had a really bad wreck, talked to me about it, I gave her all the details.
We had those conversations after all major crashes and walked through, the emotional toll that it takes on us and our teams. But then when I got off the phone, I just paused and thought that was a normal conversation that I had had with him. And normal not in a good way, but just normal in a way that we have it all the time.
Got off the phone, went about my business, checked on my crews, made sure all the trucks were back in service, went back home to my family. Stacy kind of did the same thing. It was about a week later. Stacy calls me and she goes, "Hey, are you okay?"
Chief Cook has went out on every single one of those fatalities. I've been on every single one of those. And I looked back and realized that that was the 8th fatality that we had shared in a 6-month period.
It is so far reaching when we lose a life. It's not just the families, it's the friends, it's the first responders. It's the first responders that it didn't bother them the first 10 times. But this time, it's like a pebble in a pond. You throw a pebble in there and it just ripples, and that's what every one of these wrecks is like.
At that point, I thought, we have to do something. We have to do something different. What can we do as a trauma program to improve that stretch of highway?
After that phone call, Stacy and I kind of dug in and we started taking a look at the numbers.
We initially looked at ODOT's annual reports, and in there they recognize that there's a problem and that Highway 97 is the 2nd deadliest highway in Oregon. We knew it was there, we just didn't know how significant it was until we were able to add our data to what they had. She
looked at the ODOT numbers and got the fatalities from ODOT, and then she looked at the fatalities from Sky Lakes and the patients we brought in. And then I looked at all the deaths that we'd actually responded to and called in on scene, and none of them correlated. We started putting together data from all of the dispatches from 911 and our trauma data and our EMS data, and working with trauma program managers around the state. It was then that we were able to really show the full picture of the dangers of this stretch of highway. We put all the numbers back in. We had an increase of 25 to 35% of the deaths on that stretch of highway. And that is what really started waving a big flag. It was huge. We continued knocking on doors. Stacy's the one that really started going out and reaching out to find out if we could give this to the leadership within Oregon Department of Transportation.
In our conversations, they've been very receptive to us, and it has been moved up in the priority list to do something with that stretch of highway. We really developed a great partnership, and that it was recognized, it was truly recognized that there's an issue of concern in that stretch of highway. I would love to see it be a 2-lane highway with a center median, but anything that we can do in that area so that we're not coming in and seeing major injuries and fatalities, would be huge.
The outcome that we're looking for is to make the highway safer and to prevent that impact on our first responders and to make sure that the families are safe.
We're going to give outstanding care when our patients come here, but if we can do things to prevent them from ever coming and keep them safe, that's our goal. I think looking long term, the goal would be to not have any crashes in that stretch of highway. We travel that road as providers, in the back of ambulances when we're transporting patients. Our family members serve in that area, and we travel that area for our personal lives. We send our kids out on that road and our spouses. I think it's important to know that our caregivers care, and what we do on a daily basis impacts us also. And out of that is our heart to make a difference.